It's finally here. Monster Hunter Wilds. The very first video to ever pop off on this channel was me talking about my predictions for this game. So now, of course, I gotta talk about it here. This one's gonna be a bit longer, so get ready. Let's jump into the story. Let's jump into some hunting. And let's something.
Go wild.
Don't mind if I do!
Right out of the gate, we're introduced to this game's flagship monster, but he'll still be shrouded in mystery for the time being. At the same time, we're introduced to one of the main protagonists of the story, Nata, who is quickly escorted away by another character, Tashin. We'll talk about him later, but for now, we gotta get out of here. Our hunter group manages to find Nata on the borders of the Forbidden Lands, a region split off from civilization for over 1,000 years, and thought to be deserted. I mean, the game tells you right here. You guys probably knew that. We're introduced to our hunter and Fabius. Fabius informs us that Nata is a member of the Keepers, and that we are to rescue the Keepers while investigating this mysterious monster, for now known only as the White Wraith. The rest of the crew is introduced: Gemma, formerly known as the artist Little Miss Forge, and Alma, our new handler. Before we can make formal introductions with everyone, the team notices a pack of monsters chasing something. It's a girl riding a monster we've never seen before. Our hunter leaps into action, and it's finally time to get into the game. So we're just gonna quickly get through this part. You guys have probably played the beta, so you've seen this at least 2 to 3 times already. And this is just a quick movement tutorial and an early introduction to some of the mechanics. We rescue the girl, and we learn that these monsters we're riding are called Sacred, a semi-new addition to Wilds. We had some mounted traversal in Worlds and the Palamutan Rise, and this is just another step in refining the traversal system. The girl's brother, Yasai, got into some trouble with a large monster and told her to run to safety. Now that we've saved her, it's up to us to save him. That's a lot of saving. But before we go, we do need to pick a weapon. Just want to quickly pause here. I just want to say, from the reviews and previews and early access, there was a lot of talk about this game being too easy. So knowing that, going into this game, I decided I did not want to play my main weapon, the sword and shield. I didn't want to just steamroll the whole game right out of the gate. So I went with a weapon I didn't have too much experience with, but wanted to play a bit more of. So I picked the classic greatsword. With the choice made, it's time to save Yasai from the game's first new monster. This is very much a tutorial fight. The game quickly introduces the basics to hunting monsters. It introduces the new offset attacks, the focus mode, and the wound system. Chotacabra himself is not a tricky fight at all. Very slow and obvious attacks. I do like the mechanic of him attaching slime and rocks to his hands for more protection and or damage, but I haven't seen him do more than just punch, jump, and tongue attack in my many fights with him. Not anything crazy, just makes me miss his brother Tetsukabra even more. Not a bad fight for people new to Monster Hunter, and the tutorials get the new mechanics out of the way for the veteran players. With Chotacabra out of the way, we're free to rescue Yasai and take him back to base camp. We get a quick look around the place, the forge, the training area. We're reintroduced to some of the other characters from the opening cutscene, specifically Olivia, Eric, and Werner. Before going on our next big hunt, we're tasked with collecting some honey and bringing Yasai and his sister Nona back to their village. Before going in, we're stopped by the village chief, Mr. Let Me Carve Your Way, Zato. We lose our sacrets for now, but it won't be long before we get them back, and we catch a glimpse of another new monster, but it's not quite time to fight yet. Right now, we need to see one of the best cutscenes in the game. We're quickly taken into our next new monster hunt. Now, I really like the Cumatrice. The monster design for me is top tier. Just a giant dinosaur chicken. You can't go wrong. Good job, Capsule Computers. The fight itself is pretty easy. I think he's easier than Chatacabra. All he does is spin around with some fire and pecks at you and dies. He is a very fun fight, and I love him. I do hope we see future iterations of him that up the challenge. Give me more Cumatrice.
Rest in peace, little chicken. It's been a bash.
Yasai meets us back at camp and brings us to his village to repay us for saving him. When we get there, we ask the elder about the keepers, but we don't get any new information on them. We're also given a look into a mysterious substance known as Wilk, seemingly used as a fuel source. If it's named, you know it's gotta be important. But we'll talk about this later, because now it's time to eat. We ask about the monster we ran into last time we were around the village. Yasai tells us it was a Doshagama, and that the chimes in the village keep it away. Doshagama typically stay in the forest, but are wandering closer to the village for some reason. Our group decides to investigate this further, and sets off to venture into the forest area for more information. Y'all, it is so hard to not say Doshaguma. We get our first real walking and talking scene as we move towards the forest. I know these are a point of contention for the game, but they really aren't that long. They keep the story moving and get you involved with the characters. I would rather a handful of walking scenes than, I don't know, fight Zora Magdaros again. Our second base camp gets set up and we split up and look for clues. From following some tracks, we learn that Doshagama travel in packs. But before we can learn anything else, Eric stumbles onto another monster in the area. A new monster, the Lalabarina. It's not long before we get into some trouble, and the only way out is by fighting. Or hunting, whatever. Lalabarina is another new monster I really like. A flower spider ballerina. What a combo. Lalabarina has a lot of very quick strikes, some with her claws, some with her stinger. She also has some nimble movements that create quite a bit of distance, giving her time to set up a field of paralyzing flowers. Obviously, you don't want to touch them. With this being an early game monster, it's not anything too unmanageable. I think Capcom could have peppered up the field with more flowers to avoid. But at least the fight is fun and fun to look at. Maybe something more in G rank. While we were busy with the Lalabarina, our camp was getting raided by dubious little creatures getting into mischief. They take everything we love and cherish, so we need to make a deal with their leader to get it all back. They want us to slay some kind of monster, telling us it was
Big, scary, and pink!
Did they say scary? They must have meant stinky, because it's our first returning monster, the Congalala. Congalala is back with all his classic moves. The belly flop,
The farting, the puking, the pissing, which I can't do. So if you want to try that out, be my guest.
He's a pretty weird monster. It has been so long since we had a monster that covers you in stink. I forgot what it actually did. You can't use your items. That's what it does. Didn't bring any deodorant, but it wasn't a problem. This guy's a piece of cake. With Kungalala out of the way, the Wudwuds return our stuff and we head back to our campsite, only to find out it's been destroyed by the pack of Doshagama we were tracking, with the Alpha clearly being the one who makes all the rules. Things are getting out of hand. So we head back to Kanafa in the Sandy Plains to warn them. Apparently, we need Zato to convince the Elder that the wind chimes isn't the best way to protect yourself against 100 tons of walking meat. So it's off to the Oasis to bring back Zato from another new monster. Balahara isn't my favorite fight in this game. He just kind of wiggles around, pokes his tail around, so make sure to cut that thing off, and he sprays you with his black slime. What I find interesting is that every now and again, Balahara will make a sand trap and sucks you into his mini sand domain. One of the only instances of a monster using and altering the terrain in his fight. I really enjoy this part of him, and it's something I would like to see more in the future. But besides that, it's a pretty standard fight, but he's trying his best. He's doing stuff nobody else is doing. Good try. With Mr. Let Me Carve Your Way saved, we convince the Elder to get the village people to shelter. But, uh-oh, too little, too late. They're here. We grab Nata, and it's time to get the heck out of here. We chase the pack into an open area and lure them into a sand trap, leaving only the Alpha to take down. Doshagama, I think, is the first difficult hunt. He's just a big ball of death. His moves are slow, but deceptively slow. Not Elden Ring slow, but slow enough to mess up your timing. He likes to chain his attacks too. And on top of all of that, he has some fake outs. Even doing this fight in the beta, I still find him a bit tricky. He hit me with a couple big moves, and he gave me my first card of the game. But I was still in the default armor, using a weapon I'm still learning, and the sun was in my eyes. This definitely won't happen again. And of course, I kill him in one hit as soon as I get back. So it's like the cart didn't even matter. With the hunt coming to a close, the village is saved. As a reward, we are officially given a sacred of our own. No more rental. I made mine green to match the channel's original colors. You know, purple and green. It wasn't until later I realized I just made Yoshi. Whoops. Our team comes to the conclusion that the White Wraith may be in the Scarlet Forest. So we mount up and head over. But it's not the White Wraith we run into. It's our first Apex monster. Olivia joins us on this hunt, which is kind of nice. I was getting lonely. Uthduna is one big boy. He's got a two-part fight. One where he has his soapy shields up, and his other is when his shield is down. When his shield is up, he seems to be more stationary, only doing some standard lunges and swipes and thrusts. Maybe a tail spin. The only area that can be damaged on him is his face and front legs. So breaking his soapy armor is a good idea if you want more of him to be vulnerable. When his shield is down, he becomes a lot more mobile, adding in jumps and slides into his arsenal. There's also this water wave distortion effect some of his flop moves have, a very effective way of displacing your hunter and causing them to become unbalanced. As long as you keep that in mind, the fight will go pretty smoothly. Our first Apex down, and I have to say, unfortunately, out of all the Apex monsters in the game, I would have to put Uth at the bottom. Good foundations for more, but this game currently has some better fights. But we don't actually beat him here. This is just a rappel mission. The White Wraith shows up and snags the kill after we do all the hard work. Jerk. Nata's getting a bit cheesed too. But hey, at least we still get the carves.
Hey!
After witnessing the White Wraith's attack, the team discusses that he has some kind of non-physical way of attacking. But we don't have enough information to go off, so we set off to see the Woodwoods for more information. While talking with the Woodwoods, we run into Zato on his way to make trades in the oil well basin. So we tag along because why not? More talking and walking, but you know it's not that bad. We fought a bunch of monsters, had some laughs. At least Zora Magdaros doesn't show up. It's not long before we make it to Azuz, meet its people, and the Everforge, which is about to go off. Wow, what timing. We meet with the Elder and talk about the Keepers. He seems to know who they are and might have a way of finding them. Not having much info on him now, he says he can get us a guide. We also ask about the one girl who ran out of the village the moment we arrived. She might have gotten herself into some trouble gathering resources for the Firespring Festival. That's just the long way of saying, fight another monster. We head to the monster's location and find their equipment, but no people. There's nobody around, except Rompapolo is kind of a weirdo. At first, I was kind of excited to fight him. I thought the fight would be really satisfying. Like, hitting him would be like popping bubble wrap. But no, he just kind of walks it off. His moves are kind of fun though. His attacks are mostly just him injecting his poison stink into the ground. He also breathes poison. Kind of reminds me of Jigsaw more than anything.
I know how much you don't like smelly smells. Gas, 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 gas.
He's more conceptually interesting than his fight actually is. I hope they do more with a subspecies or a G-rank version, because this guy is almost there. Almost there, Capcom. We saved the two from earlier, and it's back to the village. Just in time for the Firespring Festival. Firebrand. Is that a Ghost and Goblins reference? Capsule computers, you're gonna have to wake up pretty early to get that one past me. Anyway, the forge doesn't light up, even when they add more fuel, which is obviously Wilk. For now, the festival is off until we can figure out what's going on. Werner thinks he can do something to fix it, and discovers that Wilk comes from something called the Land Spine, a network that stretches throughout the whole Forbidden Lands. But before we can really do anything to help restart the Firespring Festival, we get news that the sand tide is hitting the plains, and that the bad weather may be linked to the appearance of the White Wraith. So, off to the plains. But I gotta make a brain soup for my cat first. We make it back in time to the plains to catch the White Wraith fighting another Apex monster. Nata is not happy to see the White Wraith again. He gets so mad, he wants to take our weapon and fight this thing all on his own. The kid is out for blood. And keep this in mind, it will become very important soon. The White Wraith gives the other monster the suck. I don't know how else to describe it. But a bolt of lightning brings him back. He's ready to tango. And I've been working on my Texas two-step. Raidou is the Plains Apex monster. This was a fight that was in the demo, so I do have a little experience with him. The wing slams, the tail swipes, the railgun bolts. Not too fast, not too slow. If you're not paying attention, he has a big blast that will just cart you. He doesn't fly too much, so that's good for the fight not becoming annoying, and it makes the limited number of flash pods you can carry pretty useful. This is a very fun fight. And out of all the hunts in Wilds, I think Raidow's theme is the best one. There's just something so thematic about it. But like I said before, I fought this guy in the demo, so I knew all his tricks. Very good fight. He gets placed second in the Apex monsters of this game. The team meets back at the oil springs, and we finally have a guide to take us into the tunnels. But will this be that fabled mystery tunnel that reveals the keepers inside? Well, it seems to be, because Nata remembers coming from this direction. But apparently it's been years since Nata left, and the pathway is frozen over. I'm pretty lost on this one. I don't know. While looking for a place to keep warm, we spot a Narcilla, another returning monster, spinning away at something or someone. Guy seems to be pretty okay with dying, but we're gonna save him anyway. Narcilla is back, seemingly with the same bag of tricks from before. First things you're gonna notice are the rock hard claws, so of course you know I'm gonna be hitting them all hunt. She has a couple of really slow, obvious attacks, pretty standard. There's her big bite that poisons, a cool web swing, but what you really should be watching out for are the web balls and sleep sting. Getting hit by any of these makes it prime time to get comboed. But the webs are so obvious and easy to avoid. It's not like you're just gonna be poisoned from a previous attack, walk right into a web and die. Why did walking into the webs do so much damage? Just kill her in one hit. Just end it. With Rove the Woodwood now saved, we use his help to get a better understanding of the area. And it's honestly a hop, skip, and a jump into the next hunt. We run into a new monster, but duck away to safety, only to find out that Nata is getting sick. Now it's our job to clear out the area and make our way back to base camp. Kiribami is not my favorite hunt. They are a pack monster, but there's no alpha. You just hunt the one with the target over them. Which is kind of weird because you would think it wouldn't matter if you just need to hunt one, but whatever. Kiribami is a float monster too. Kind of like Palamu from World, but not as good. Kiribami just kind of floats around and does all these tail blade slices. Sometimes he lands just to do a couple lunges, but then he just goes right back up. He might shoot some ice balls at you if you're lucky. Breaking his parts doesn't do much either. You would think breaking his webbing would make him less mobile, but I don't think it really does anything. He's already not that mobile. You just kind of hit him until he dies. I don't know what else to say. We pack everything up and head back to Azuz in the oil spring, where we bump into Werner, who is done repairing the Great Forge. We think something else might be going on that's causing the problem, but it's too late to stop anything. And things go wrong. Who could have seen that coming? Oh look, the three brothers on their way to help. Gemma suggests we reroute the excess flames to another forge. While she works on that, we take on the looming monster threat. Ajarkon is a pretty fun fight. Pretty aggressive monster, fast moves, big hits. He's got a couple of big moves that will catch you off guard your first time seeing them. I think he's supposed to be a big angry monkey like Rajang, but he looks kind of rat-like to me. Also, kind of reminds me of Hakan from Street Fighter when he fights in the oil, getting covered in it. But he doesn't get slippery, he just kind of lights up on fire. This fight did take me a while. It was nice having something that wasn't just over in a flash. I really like when he takes you to his final zone and starts playing in the rafters, changing up his movement a bit. Good variety in the fight. Pretty dang good. We make it back to Azuz, but the three brothers were more like the six brothers. Luckily, they don't stick around long, as something ominous approaches. A creature known as the Black Flame appears and makes short work of the bunch. He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3. Seems like this monster could cause more problems than it solves, so we gear up and track it down. Not only a new monster, but a new type of monster. An 8-legged or 6-legged octopus. New Udra is very strange, but I like the fight because it's new. The interactions are fairly straightforward. He uses his tentacles to show where and what his attacks will be, usually attacking in your direction. He has a spin move that covers all around him, and there's also a Death Blossom style attack that launches many fireballs around him. He's also got a command grab where he just burns you if you don't escape. And sometimes he just shoots a huge flame at you anyway. The fight is okay. It's very satisfying to cut off his tentacles. I think that's the best part of him. A very destructible monster. I do like him, but it does feel like there's just one thing missing from his kit. I think Capcom will get a lot of use out of a new skeleton, and I can't wait to see more. With new Udra and the three brothers taken care of, the festival can finally come to a close in peace. And the day is saved. Thanks to me. We all yuck it up, the area cools down, and we're called back to the camp in the Sand Plains. The team finally concludes that the Wilk that runs through the land spine affects the area's weather, and that the White Wraith targets the apex monsters during the harsher weather to absorb their power. We conclude that we should return to the Ice Shard Cliffs, when it's confirmed that the ice that was blocking our way has melted. This gives us access to investigate the land spine, and gets us closer to the Keepers. Delving even deeper into the cliffs, we are abruptly interrupted by a strange type of Doshaguma. Without a second to waste, we are into our first variant monster hunt. Guardian Doshaguma. I've been trying to keep the names spoiler free until the game reveals them, but I don't know what else to call this guy. We'll find out more about Guardian monsters soon, so I think it's okay. Guardian Doshaguma is pretty much the same as normal Doshaguma, but he has a few extra things going on to make this fight a bit more entertaining. He still has his big bash, but now he has a super big bash, and this one creates little crystal structures. Technically, this is an environmental change, but Guardian Doshaguma doesn't really use them in his fight. What he does use is this new spit attack. It does give him a ranged option now, and if you're hit, it lowers your defense. So now if he hits you, it's gonna hurt. But I didn't cart this time, so we're good. Nice introductory fight to the final area. Nata leads the way forward from here. We've made it to Wyveria, and what a heartwarming reunion. Nata is finally reunited with his home and family. But before we can settle down, a familiar face barges in. The Guardian, Rathalos. A classic fight. Pretty much all the same moves from what I could tell, but just like Doshaguma, Guardian Rathalos does also have a super big bash that creates the same environmental crystals, and in this fight, they work much better for Rathalos. They seem to react to elemental attacks, so if a fireball hits one, it will explode after a delay, and if any other crystals are in that range, they will chain explode as well. An extra little thing to pay attention to. Doesn't make the fight any different really from previous Rathalos fights, but he's a classic for a reason. We are finally past the final obstacle in getting Nata home. Looking at the scene here makes me realize going the waifu route in character creation just turned the game into
Teen Girl Squad! Cheerleader! What's your face? The ugly one!
we're reintroduced to Tashin. Second time for us players, but first time for the squad. We get a little breakdown of what happened after Nata left. Seems like everyone's happy to see him back. We press Tashin for more info, and he is more than ready to fill us in. He let us know that Wyveria is the source of Wilk flowing across the Forbidden Lands, and that the Keepers study this energy to bring back Wyveria into prosperity. He also lets us know that Wilk is actually authentic Wyverian Miak. I mean Wyvern milk. That's just sensational. The source of Wyvern milk comes from deeper in Wyveria, from something called the Dragon Torch. Tashin says we should check it out to get a better idea of things, so let's go do that. Now, just to quickly step in here for a moment, I swear there's a scene earlier in the game where we get the name drop for the White Wraith, but I have combed through this footage for hours. This is like 12 plus hours of footage, and I cannot find it. So I'm just going to start using Arkveld from here on out instead of White Wraith. Sorry I let this one slip. This is where things go off the rails. We learn that guardian monsters are made in Wyveria to serve the Keepers. They don't need to eat or reproduce, and they don't die as long as they have wyvern milk. Arkveld was one of these guardians, but went crazy after waking up. And Nata does not take this news well. Now, I gotta talk about this moment, because this does not feel right. We just had Nata so mad he wanted to take our weapon and fight Arkveld right there and then when we were running into Raydao. And that was not that long ago. Screaming, "Why me?" And the second he gets home and learns everyone's okay, he goes all,
What am I fighting for?
friendship over with hunters. Now Arkveld is my new best friend. Just because he feels Arkveld wanted to be free. If we had more time spent with Arkveld, learned more about him on our own, and Nata came to this conclusion on the way here, or maybe, you know, his family and home didn't make it, and he had to forgive Arkveld for his own moral being, kind of like a Spider-Man 3 moment, I think this reaction and change of character would have panned out better. This moment doesn't ruin the story. I get what they were going for, but this execution sticks out like a sore thumb and doesn't feel good.
I'm not the monster here, you are!
But look who just happens to show up. We were just talking about you. The flagship monster of Wilds, and this guy is armed to the teeth. First off, his chain wings give him a ton of range on his moves. He can just do a wide swing, or throw out his chains like a big whip. His moves are all very sweepy and swipey, and they all look very similar. So when he throws in a command grab, you're probably gonna get hit. Make sure you have some stones or something offensive to throw in his face to get out, or you're taking a big hit. With this being the first encounter with him, they toned down how much he can do. But if you played the demo, like I did, you know this guy, and you know this guy can fight. This is just a repel mission, but there will be a rematch soon. It doesn't take long to get Arkveld out of here. Tashin does give us the tip to speak to the Allharkin about what's going on with Arkveld. So, you know, one more stop. We make our way through the ice caverns one more time. You know, someone should take all these talking and walking scenes and put them up against all the Zorah Magdaros fights. And I mean Zorah Magdaros without the defender armor and weapons. Low rank, high rank, scavenge for what you can, like it's your first playthrough. We meet up with Rove and ask for directions to the Allharkin. And it looks like it's just a straight shot from here. But who's on our tail? It's the apex of this area. This is the last repel mission, but it's a lot more than that. This is pretty much the whole Jindahad fight, and it's one of the best in the game. He's like a giant heat-sink dragon. You go around breaking his legs, his tail, his head, and his back spines, and it really keeps you in the fight, gives you a lot of direction on where you should be focusing your attacks. And you need to be paying attention at all times. Think he can't hit you while you're at his back legs? He's got a stomp, he's got ice breath, he's got an exhaust move, and he's got a tail swipe. Taking on the front end, he's got a slam, he's got AoE ice blast, and he loves to try and freeze you in place. You get frozen in a bad spot with a chunk of your health missing, you are getting comboed to death. He also has the biggest blast in the game. I haven't been hit by it, but it can't be good. Thank you Monster Hunter World Behemoth for giving us this tech. Good fight. Our last stop before the end, Suja. We meet with the Allharkin and ask her about Arkveld going wild. She takes us to a more scenic area, so you know we're about to get a load of information. The ancient people of Wyveria created the Dragon Torch and used its energy to create the strange weather in the Forbidden Lands for their own benefits. This also includes creating the Servient Guardian monsters. But she doesn't know what is going on with Arkveld. You gotta be kidding me. She suggests he's just going with the flow and living his best life. And it's up to us to see where things go and what to do with him. Seems like we went through a lot of effort to get a non-answer. But hey, at least the food made it worth it. We end the night with the Allharkin alluding to a civilization-ending mega monster made by the Wyverians and is possibly still alive. That doesn't sound good. But it can't possibly be that important. So it's back to Wyveria to traverse even deeper. Now might not be the best time to give Nata a crash course on Monster Hunter, because we are about to get jumped by a returning monster. Guardian Ebony Odogaron. Our first returning monster from World. The fight, from what I can tell, is very similar, but easier in a weird way. I swear Odogaron always did a quick jump strike whenever you knocked him down or flinch, but this one doesn't seem to do that. Maybe it's just been a while and that's just normal Odogaron, and Ebony doesn't do that. But besides that, this fight is just as frantic as I remember Odogaron being. He has his swipes, his jumps, his spins, his bleed, and his dragon breath. And this guardian monster uses the environmental crystals he creates the best. His chain reaction blasts just go crazy. And I think this is his most dangerous ability. If it wasn't for that, I feel like this fight would be kinda samey as the original and other Guardian fights, but this added touch saves it. If anyone had to return from World, I'm glad it was Odogaron and not you-know-who. And we don't even get a second to breathe after this fight, because we are right into another new hunt. This is Xie-Wu. Another monster using the same skeleton as New Udra. You knew capsule computers wouldn't make a new skeleton and only use it once. And even though I was expecting it, I wasn't expecting this. Because Jay-Woo does not fight the same way at all. He has a lot of quick swipes, some big slams, a couple thrusting spear attacks, projectiles and jumps, and sometimes a jumping projectile combo attack. He's also got this horrifying dash attack, and it will put some fear into your heart. Unlike New Udra, Jay-Woo doesn't attack from all directions. He only attacks from his front-facing tentacles, so he's not as omnidirectional as New Udra. But I wouldn't say he's more dangerous. One of the top fights in this game, Gold Star. We make our way even deeper into Wyveria, and it's time to finally confront Arkveld. Of course, Nata isn't too happy about that, but you know, we're not diving back into that topic. It's time to take him down, for really and for truly. We already covered Arkveld earlier, but in this last confrontation with him, he does actually enrage. So now his big moves are even bigger. The fight from earlier really was missing something. It was definitely meant to just be a taste for the fight ahead. Arkveld really needs to have these heavy hits to fully complete his encounter. It's kind of crazy they gave us the whole fight in the demo, because without that experience, I would have definitely carded here. I knew all his tricks, or at least most of them by this time, so we're okay. So long, Arkveld. With no more obstacles, we reach the final area of the game, the Dragon Torch. But uh-oh, there's something inside there. That's probably not good. For the last time, we head back to camp to discuss our options. The monster inside is Zoshia, the creature we were told wiped out an entire civilization. Remember? The Elharkin made sure to tell us this, but we gotta get rid of this thing, and fighting it does not seem like our best option. Well, it turns out, Nata's pendant is made of a material that can destroy the Dragon Torch, and everything else connected to it. Meaning, we destroy the whole ecosystem of the Forbidden Lands. So our options are not great. Use the pendant and save everyone, but destroy the Forbidden Lands, or take our chances with Zoshia, let it wake up, and take it down before it destroys another civilization. Nata wants to use the pendant. It was a duty given to his father, and he wishes to do the same as him. So we ready up and head out. We make it back to the Dragon Torch, but since we are the low rank ace hunter, we decide to take Zoshia on directly.
Eat me, I can die.
Honestly, it's a little hard to talk about Zoshia. It's a one and done fight. You don't get to hunt him again unless you have friends who are also doing this last mission. And that's probably not happening. So I can really only go off of memory and rewatching the footage here, but I really like this fight. I think it's a great last boss. I like how breakable and crumbly the parts are, and when it morphs into that more demonic dragon appearance, it's really creepy. I can't think of another monster that really does anything like this during the fight. Just from rewatching the footage, there's nothing too crazy with his attacks. They are just all really big blasts, and he does a lot of them. It's very fun to watch and very fun to dodge around. It's only a matter of time before we see him again. There's no way he does not come back. This was a nice little treat to get. A nice little taste to cap off the story. With Zoshia defeated, the Dragon Torch and the rest of the Forbidden Lands are saved. We return to our team at camp, reflect on our journey, and it's off to the credits. What a game. I know the story is not really the selling point of Monster Hunter, but if we are going to be getting more stuff like this in the future, I don't really have a problem with that. There was really only that one part that kinda took me out. But, you know, it happens. Maybe that's what they were going for, but annoying childlike moral shift on a whim didn't pan out the way they wanted it to. So some improvements can be made. For the most part, I stayed pretty invested with our characters and Hunter. At first, I didn't like that we needed approval to hunt all the monsters, but the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. It wasn't like a Metroid Other M kind of thing. It's more of a we can't just hunt things into extinction kind of thing. So it makes sense. But some of the reasons to approve a hunt are pretty weak. Whatever. Not a huge monster roster, but I think the ones we have all range around pretty good. I do like a lot of the new monsters, and the room for improvement is there for future updates and G-Rank. There's a good foundation here, and I think this is the most fun Monster Hunter has been. Since ever, maybe. At least for me. I might have to let that sink in for a while, but thank you for watching, and happy hunting. Just wanted to say thank you guys. If you watched all the way to the end, thanks again. Really warming back up to the microphone, so that's good. Bit of a longer video, so it was good to get the reps in. And obviously trying something new, more in the game, first experiences type thing. And I scripted this before the Capcom showcase for the next patch, so some of the info in this video is a little outdated now. You know the spiel. If you like, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna start pushing my other accounts. Twitter, you know, could really use a bit of support there. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, link is in the description. And I post stuff there that's not on YouTube. More art and like simple kind of, you know, scroll type content. But thank you again. I'm just gonna go now.